A friend that comes at me all the time saying, I stay too much with one belief, and I got to come off of that belief sometimes. Well, sometimes I do, I agree. But let's look at what's been going on in foreign policy, because it's getting worse and worse and worse. We started all this back at JAAC.com in our written blog, and we've been making it very clear here in our verbal blogs or video blogs that our foreign policy absolutely stinks. The president has just blown it. What's going on over in the Ukraine right now? In Ukraine right now. They're getting split up. This is a normal, standard Putin move. We're dealing with a guy who runs around without his shirt on to let us all know how tough he is. It's nothing really that we can joke about it and laugh about it, but it's the real. It's how he looks at himself, how he wants to portray himself to the world, and how he wants to act all the time. He went into Georgia and dismembered Georgia when their democracy movement was really cooking. He goes into Syria, and his fleet is there, part of his fleet, what you call a fleet, and gets Syria with him. And Syria, I think those who followed us earlier heard our recreation of his conversation with Bashar al-Assad, and got the United States to back off, and they've turned over, what, 4 or 5% of the chemical weapons? And meanwhile, Assad's Air Force keeps on flattening people with the equivalent of suicide belts, but that are made into barrels and dropped. He's been helping Iran, back in Iran, no matter what. Looks like Iran may be working with us, but if I was Iran, I don't know if I'd really want to. I'd keep playing the same game that Putin's playing. And you got to look at Vladimir Putin and say, you got to respect him. He's an autocrat. He owns his country. He owns all the media. He owns all the big boys who own all the media and own all the corporations, supposedly worth billions and billions and billions of dollars. He wastes $64 billion down in Sochi for the Olympics. Nobody's going to be going there in the next couple of years. It's too much of it's in the middle of an Islamic hotbed. People are going to get killed. He can't, what's he going to do, eradicate everybody? He's been trying to do it. Very, very tough to do down there. And now he moves into Ukraine and tries to break that up. And the best part is that he sits there and goes, I'm not going there. It's not me. You may see my helicopters going overhead. You may see my tanks coming over. You may see our guys coming in with masks. But wait, that's Zorro. Those aren't our guys. They're Zorro. And we sit there and take it. And he knows he can get away with it, so he pushes and pushes and pushes. And what do we say? Just like a professor. No, 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 no. And nothing happens. We can't confront him militarily in Ukraine, but we can sure shut down a lot of diplomatic initiatives we have going. We can sure start focusing on economic sanctions. Their economy is horrible. They got oil and gas. We got oil and gas. They have no real infrastructure. It's old. It's rusted. The people just aren't making a lot of money. They have, in Moscow and some of the big cities, things are happening, but it's still just not in great shape. How can it work when the economy is from the top down? We should be turning the screws on their economy, and then at the same time, we should start making some threatening noises in Syria. You know, there's no war that's necessary normally, nothing. But gosh, what would he think if we flattened, if the United States flattened Syria's Air Force? I don't want to hear about Al-Qaeda and all the rest. They're there. We have to start letting people know, a person know, that we're not going to back down, because the more we let him get away with and push, and he doesn't respect us, he sure doesn't respect President Obama, and doesn't respect us, the more he's going to push, because that's what he does. Take an inch, give an inch, take a mile, right? We always hear that growing up. That's what's going on. And how anybody can be surprised about this, I don't understand. So let's see what happens. Nothing's going to happen. We're just going to kind of talk and do really nothing. At least you had to give Jimmy Carter credit in Iran. He blew it trying to rescue the hostages, but at least he tried. But his execution was about as good as Obamacare. So that's where we are. It's sad. We're going to have a new proactive, tough president in a couple of years. It's going to be very interesting when that happens. But until then, Mr. Obama, it's time to step up. I always say it. I hope you do it one day and not too late. Peace. I am so bad with that.